people that are here, and we've done our absolute best that we could in preparing this event. I apologize in advance if there's a seating issue or a program issue. Again, we did our absolute best, and if something comes up that you need rectified, please let my wife know. As far as a few housekeeping arrangements, bathrooms are out the hall in either direction. I'd like to quickly introduce a couple of people. Current president of basketball coaches, Chris Russo from Monticello High School. Current vice president, Todd Rose from Washingtonville. People that have always worked behind the scenes so well. Ben Nelson's an assistant, and Dave Powers an assistant, and Dan Hall, who does all of the development as far as the Hall of Fame appearance. So those three would stand. Ben, Dave, and Dan Hall. What I'd like to do right before we start to eat is have a moment of silence for any of our former members of the Hall of Fame who passed away. Thank you. Sometimes people read names that I get caught sometimes naming people who are still alive. So I wanted to avoid that. Thank you. So the outstanding staff here will go table by table. You will be surprised how fast this goes. I would like all current members of the Hall of Fame, current members, to come up here. I'd like to quickly introduce you and then we'll have the brush. So anybody that's already been inducted, etc., there's quite a few here. Like anybody that's a current member, stand. Anybody that's a current member of the Hall of Fame. Dick, you're still in answer. First of all, just so we get this, just raise your hand. Fred Ahart, myself, Wally Baxter, Jeff Iyer, stand up. Warren Fuller is here, Bill Higgins, Jerry Kaplan. Doug Canyon, Don Landrio, Mike Lilac, George Mardigan, Bill Myrna, John Moriello, Ben Nelson, the handsome Dick O'Neill, Dave Powers, and Bob Turner. Very good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. You'll call the tables, we'll both directions. We'll reconvene as soon as we're done. It's made up of coaches of all levels throughout the entire state. Our vision as an organization is to promote the sport of basketball statewide at all levels. We have a major clinic in the fall for professional development. In the summer, we now have what's called the Buchanan Summer Hoops Festival, which replaces the Empire State Games as far as the scholastic. Kids give them a chance to play in the summer, which has grown into a phenomenal event. And perhaps the one we're most proud of is our Hall of Fame inductions. We're glad that you're here. The many activities of Buchanan are listed on the back cover. Very few distinguished people I'd like to introduce. Robert Zayas, the Executive Director of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, is at the front of this table over there. Bill Higgins, the boys basketball chair. Where's Bill? Over here. state tournament director here. I'd like our president, Chris Rousseau, to make a very few remarks.
Good morning. I just really want to welcome everyone here again. This is a really great honor for me to be part of as president, mostly because it's probably the only time that I'll be associated with the Hall of Fame. So it's really good that I get to stand up here, the signs behind me, and people seem to think that I'm doing something right. Anyway, it really is a great honor, and it's a great honor for the coaches that are being inducted today. People always ask, how is it that they, how did you achieve, coach? How did you get here? And you'll hear today about, the speeches about their players and their family and their assistant coaches. Which, by the way, assistant coaches, you all now have a new job. Once these plaques are displayed upstairs in the hallway, each year you must return and polish them. Make sure they are a high ball shine. King Richard, I took care of that this morning, so I don't know where you are, Dickie, but I took care of it. So yours, nice and shine there. You're our buddy over there. I love you, Coach. And we started to think about reasons why that you're here. And with all the amount of wins that are in this room, it's obviously about scheduling. So, I'm good friends with Coach Howe, mostly because both Todd Rose and I have contributed, I think, 23 of his 400 wins. So we've also set up a sign-up sheet for any of you returning coaches. If you want to boost your win total, you can try to schedule a game with either one of our teams. So that'll be outside when you're out there. Okay. Brief, right? Is that what it says? Brief ones? Okay. Finally, my time is up. So my last thing is, coaches, our honorees today, do take a moment to be proud of your accomplishment. You'll be up here again thanking coaches and family and players, but it really is your day. So enjoy your day. Congratulations.
We started the process in July as far as going through the nominations and selecting using an objective rating format. This is not a Hall of Fame where you can get a lot of recommendations and people like you and so on. It's all based on 5 categories which are listed in the program, so that these people really have risen to the top. Once they are selected, they have a contact person that I work with, my wife works with, over the course of the fall and winter to get everything ready for today. And I would like to contact people, just I'll read them to you. Jeff Anastasia was his sister, Lori. Andrew, who was his wife, Barb. Charlie was Jeff Robbins, the current coach at Sackett's Harbor. Tom Diana's contact person was his wife, Debbie. Tom Howes was the girls coach at his school, Chris Miller. Stephanie was Amy Backus. Sam is Brian Laffin. Spencer's was Matt Cameron, the AD at his school. Robert Murphy was a good friend, Peter Sheehan. Bill Tom was his son, Billy. And Susan Zawicki's was Amy. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So if the contact people would please stand. I'm sorry. Contact people. Our Hall of Fame is several things. One is physical presence here at the Glen Falls Civic Center. But more importantly, to many of us, it's a state of mind. When you talk about belonging to the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame, it's a state of mind that goes from here on out. If you've been to Hall of Fame inductions before, you realize that in many places there's a person that is a presenter that talks glowingly about the person who's going to receive. We don't do that. We basically just say your name, and then you come on up, and you have 5 minutes, which we watch very closely, to make your remarks. And I've written down before each of the inductees saying they can't thank everybody they've ever met. They cannot name every player that's ever been for them. We assume that they're thankful to those. That way you get to the heart of the matter. So we'll start with Jeff Anastasia, and he's fortunate to have won a state title, as you know, last night, and he has his team with him here as well.
First of all, congratulations to all our inductees on your well-deserved recognition, and a sincere thank you to the committee for my selection. First, I'm very humbled by this recognition, and today will always be very special to me, as I'm blessed to have my wife, my parents, my children, family, friends, coaches, former players, and last night's Class B championship team supporting me as they have from day one. It's only fitting that the induction is taking place here in Glens Falls, as Glens Falls will always have my basketball heart. It won't be the same next season with the New York State Championships taking place in Binghamton. I started coming to Glens Falls in 1990, and my dream was to get here with my team and to win a state championship. My first team played here in 2003, and we played against no other than Glens Falls. But we fulfilled my dream in 2008 by winning the New York State Class B championship. Before the current season started, I was notified that I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Throughout the season, I kept thinking how truly special it would be to win the state championship Saturday night, and to have my team here with me at my induction ceremony on Sunday. They are here, how much that truly means to me. The storybook happened just last night. We won that state championship and they're here. And I'm so proud of what they accomplished. They're just an incredible team. They had an unbelievable experience here in Glens Falls. They're a special group that I truly love, each and every one of them. So thank you, fellas. I am so happy that you're here today. Secondly, I knew as a junior in high school that I wanted to teach physical education and coach at my alma mater. That happened for me 33 years ago when many of my friends left Olean. But I stayed and I dedicated myself to the Olean School District. The best decision that I ever made in my life. People have asked, how have you been so successful? I think first of all, I've had great players. Let's face it, you're never going to win the Kentucky Derby with a donkey. It doesn't matter how good your trainer is or how good your jockey is, you're just not going to win. Secondly, surround yourself with great people. I've been very fortunate to have outstanding assistants. 3 of them are here with me today. Have someone tell you can't do something. Back when I first started coaching, I had a former superintendent tell me, he said, you will never win a sectional title at Olean High School. He said, you cannot compete with the athletes in Buffalo. He said, the players are just too good. He said, you will never win a sectional title. The thing is, he knew the game. It wasn't just somebody that didn't know the game. His son went on, received a full ride to play at Butler University. And after that, I think I became more driven as a coach. And since that comment, I've been fortunate enough to win 12 sectional titles and second state title last night. The next thing, I think longevity makes a difference. You can't possibly win 500 games in a few seasons. I teach K through 3 physical education. So last year, new kindergarten class came into the school and into the gym. And I had a little girl, and she's about this high, and she looks up at me and she says, Mr. Anastasia, can I ask you a question? I said, sure, Lily, you can say anything. She goes, well, I just want you to know that you looked a lot younger when my mom had you here watching I said, you think so, Lily? She said, mm-hmm. So she came in the next week, and I said, Lily, I just want to ask you a question. I said, does Mr. Anastasia look any younger today? She goes, a little bit. So there you go, longevity does make a difference. Next thing is, get a 10-year-old water boy that knows the game. And I'll never forget this. A few years ago, it was late in the third quarter, we're up about 36 points, and I'm a pacer. So I'm walking, and I see him walk behind me, and he heads toward my assistant coaches. I'm going, that's weird, but I didn't think much about it. Until after the game, my assistant said, you're not going to believe this one. He said, I see Zach coming toward me, and he said, I thought at first maybe he was going to offer me a glass of water, but he didn't. And he said, I thought maybe he spilled water on the floor and he needed a towel to clean it up. But he said, no, that wasn't it either. He said, the next thing I know, he leans over and says, I think you might want to put the subs in now. I started laughing. I went home, I went to bed, I was laughing. I got up the next day, I was laughing. So I said to my one assistant, I said, you are no longer going to be the assistant coach anymore. You're going to take over the water boy. So guess what? Now he's in charge. They call it the hydration squad. So I figured, well, that's a great name for replacing the water boy, right? So last night, in about the third quarter, I said, Brian, I need some water. I'm cramping up down here. And he says, Coach, you know, if you're cramping up that badly, we just drag you off the floor, next man up. I go, oh, that's really good. So the next thing is, you have to have your sister as your scorekeeper. And all I need you to do today is to open up your program. She took out $400 worth of ads, and I thought that maybe she was being inducted and was going to be giving a speech this morning. Hong Kong, right, Lori?
It's worth every dollar.
And I think the last thing is never take an opponent for granted. I've talked to coaches before, and they say, you know what? You don't have to worry about the team we're playing tonight. We're going to win the game easily. Guess what? They end up losing. And my coaches will tell you, you know, I've always I go into every single game, you know, thinking that, you know, we have to bring our A game and play our best, and I'm always well prepared. And sometimes they just shake their head, Coach, you're not worrying about this team. Yes, I am. Because you never know, all right? If you don't take teams seriously, you just never know. But finally, the game has given me more than you can imagine. All right, in 3 years when my coaching career is over, it will never be about the wins and the losses. It will be about the values and the life's lessons that I provided to my players while also making a difference in their lives. It will be about seeing my players become successful in their careers and seeing them with their families. And finally, it will be about us staying in touch and reminiscing about the special times when they played for me. Thank you again to all of you who have traveled on this journey that has given me so much and so many special and life-changing memories. I thank you.
today. It's crazy for me to think that I was even considered to be in the same company with so many great coaches, players, and contributors. Walking down the hall to get to this room is amazing. To think that, that I was even considered to be in the same company as these guys and women. I need to thank my wife of 50 years, Barbara, who has never spent in the last 40 years one winter in warm weather. Although that her favorite wine is, I want to go to Florida. I want to thank my two children that are here today, Lauren and Ryan, of whom I am so proud, and their spouses, Pascal and Michelle. They gave me two beautiful grandchildren, Samantha and Nicholas, who are also here. I want to thank the Elwood School District for allowing me to be their varsity girls coach at Elwood School District, John Glenn High School for the past 30 years. Here today are Dave Shanahan, our athletic director, and our superintendent of schools, Pete Scordo. I can't believe that you guys came all the way up here, and I really thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I can't believe they made this trip, and again, I thank you. Ken Stark was a friend of mine a long time ago, and we started coaching together in junior high school in 1976. We started out knowing absolutely nothing about basketball, and we found out quickly that we needed an offense that did not go to the right every time down the floor. Ken and I had one of the first Title IX grievances in the early 70s when we objected to our $300 salary that we split, 150 apiece, which we split in our 6-game schedule while the boys had 12. Bob Kratzky, who was a high school coach at the time, we grieved it, and next year we will split $1,200 and had 12 games. We took a team to Denmark in my early career, and we are still friends with the people that we met in Denmark and have traveled back and forth. The game has expanded my horizons, to say the least. I used, his name was Bob Kratzky, and I used every one of his drills until I retired 2 weeks ago. I worked also with Phil Robinson at the Blue High summer camps for many, many years. And when I started my own camp, I ran it just like he did his. Phil played for Rutgers in his early college days, and he used to say that his biggest accomplishment was holding Bill Bradley to 36 points when they played Princeton. When I became a head coach, the retiring athletic director congratulated me and said the same thing to me that our previous speaker said, that I would never win in Elwood at John Glenn. And so he challenged me, I suppose. So in my first 5 years with that challenge, we were 15 and 65. So I guess maybe he knew something I didn't. We started a basketball camp and then an all-sports summer camp that is still operating in Elwood and now takes more than 1,000 kids every summer. We played in local and not so local summer leagues, took kids to team camps, all in an effort to turn the program around. Although we began making the playoffs pretty regularly, we didn't win our first league championship until 2001. And then, of course, it was the players that turned everything around. Since 2001, I've had 5,000-point scorers, and winning basketball games became the rule rather than the exception. And in 2005, we had the dream season when we were 29-0 Federation champs. And we won our Federation championship right here, and it was probably one of the highlights of my career. There are now 5 Suffolk County girls basketball coaches in the Hall of Fame. Rich Castellano from Northport, Warren Fuller from Wyandanch, Claude Byer from Amityville, Reese Zander from Sachem Comac. Coach Fuller is here today and he nominated me. But let me tell you, it was one of the goals of my coaching career to beat him. When I told my kids I'd shave my mustache that I had for 20 years, if we could beat Wyandotte, and I've been without the mustache ever since. I remember my son getting off the bus coming home from Binghamton where he went to school, and he didn't know me because I wasn't wearing the mustache. But I never could beat Claude Byer from Amityville. He retired too soon for me to get even. And Castellano, many of you know the name, know him. He's still going strong with over 600 wins. In my retirement, I'll miss the coaches, the game that has meant so much to me for 40 years. But most of all, I'll miss the kids. During the winter months, I spent more quality time with the kids than they did with their parents. And I will miss the countless hours we spent in the gym together. We often hear how much coaches can influence athletes, but I've always believed that I got more from them than they did from me. Thank you all.
Charles Bridge Jr.
I'm not the speaker, but those other two guys are. Well, I wasn't expecting to be here, but here I am. They called me and said, Charlie, we'd like to nominate you for the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I said, oh, I don't think so. I said, I don't think I meet the requirements and the criteria. The people already in there, I don't really belong there. And they said, Charlie, we've already checked all the criteria and requirements, and you belong there. So I said, well, if you think you can get me in, go ahead. Well, here I am. I have to thank I know we're not supposed to do a lot of names and thank yous, but my brother Paul drove all the way down. Most of my people drove 300-400 miles to get here. One even came 1,400 miles to join us. My sister Mick and her husband Mark, and my niece Phil Ann and Phil, her husband Phil. My daughter Tisha, she's a major in the U.S. Army. She's been deployed multiple times. She's a physician's assistant. And she's currently stationed at West Point, teaching, which she says is like a vacation from Iraq and Afghanistan. And her husband, Lieutenant Colonel, is also stationed presently. And they had my granddaughter Madison there. My son Charlie is here, and we've been together. You coaches know that I've had your own children play for you. He's been in the gym since he had diapers on. And he holds the steel record at Savage Harbor Steel to this day, but he started his career early. My wife would take my daughter and my son to the games when they were maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. Charlie was always a climber, so he spent most of the game under the bleachers. And one game he came out, he was about 3 years old, maybe 4, and he had this big wad of gum, and he was just chewing away. He said, Charlie, where did you get that gum? Oh, I found it all underneath the bleachers. They made this a great weekend for us. They threw our own private party yesterday, which we're still kind of recovering from. We had live music, food, everything. Probably my most special moments, I said, were the 4 years I coached my son. I loved every team I had, and a lot of people have asked me, who was your favorite team? What was your best team? All that. And I loved all my teams, and we had a lot of good teams, so I can't answer that question. But my favorite years were the 4 years that my son played with me. That was a real special bond. They said maybe tell a story or two. I'll tell one little one. This is one last night I ran by people and they kind of liked it. So one game, usually I was very friendly with opposing coaches and their fans and their players. We talked before the games, talked after the games. And my motto was love them before the game, love them after the game, but kill them during the game. So anyways, one night we were getting killed. I mean, and we didn't get killed very often, but I mean we were getting killed. I said to the kids last night, because some of the players on that team were here, I said, I think we were down by 21 or 22 at halftime, and they said, oh no, it was 27. We were down like, what would 27 from 48 be? 48 to 21 at halftime. So I didn't even know what to say to my kids. So in that particular gym, at halftime, you had to walk by the opposing visitor's bench. So I'm walking by, I hear somebody up in the stands, their top row goes, Charlie, Charlie. So being the nice guy that I am, I walked up to the top row of the visitors. He says, what time's your team showing up? So I was smoking, but I didn't say anything. I just went down, back out of the locker room. Well, we came out and we caught fire. We caught fire. With maybe 30 seconds to go in the game, we tied the game at 98-98. And they held the ball for the last shot. Their mistake. They missed. We got the rebound and hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to win. And, you know, being the nice guy I am, I was going to be friendly. I run right over to the visitor stands, right up to the top row, and I said, they're here. I want to recognize a couple other people that have been. I taught school at Sackett's Harbor for 30-some years, and Jim Powers selected me as basketball coach. And some early people came down here. Gary West, probably the finest modified coach I ever had, because he didn't care if we won or lost. He was all about fundamentals and helped the whole program get started. When I started at Sackett's had never even won a Frontier League championship. And we ended up winning, what, 19 of them, 17 of them, something like that. And so I do want to thank Gary and Phil Goings, who I've known for 40-some years. He's helped me out in many ways with basketball camps. And two of my best buddies, John Wells, for over 30 years, helped us in our program. And probably my bestest buddy was Mr. Lyle Weaver, over 40 years in our program. So talking about the longevity with people in your program, I had a lot of people with me for a lot of years. And I better not forget my wife. I've done that before. I know the consequences of it. So anyway, my wife we've been married for 40 years this year, so we've had some good times, a few rough times, but we made it through. And I won't tell you about the bad times. There's stories in their own. Anyways, congratulations to all of you that got in today and your families. I'm sure everyone's proud of you. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
but I had to go with 36 font because I'm getting old now. Can't say anymore. So I'm sure I'll be under the mark. I don't know how you get here and not thank people, so they don't go against your advice and thank people, because there's so many people to thank. I'd like to start by thanking the Basketball Coaches Association of New York, in particular Dave Archer and his staff for their efforts in coordinating this ceremony. It's truly an honor to be inducted today into the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame. There are special days that we experience in our lives that force us to reflect on our journey. Days like today bring out many strong feelings such as pride, joy, humility, and accomplishment. As I stand here speaking to you on this day, I have many people to thank for the support. While it bears my name, it is the culmination of the collaborative efforts of many people in this room that makes this induction a reality. I would like to begin by thanking my mother and my father, who have given me the opportunity to lead a great life and taught me to follow my heart and my dreams. My mom is here today. I thank her for teaching me how to work hard, set goals, handle adversity, and be respectful and compassionate to all people. My dad has passed, and one of my fondest memories of him occurred right here in this arena. My dad was ill. He traveled far to watch our Knights compete and me coach in the state tournament. This town was always a special place for my parents as they lived here many years ago, and it was my privilege to add to their fond memories of this town. I'd also like to thank my wife Debbie and my daughters Gabrielle and Julia for their unwavering support, my brother Scott and nephew Danny for all of their scouting efforts, and my sister Kim and her family for being our most loyal fans. One of the great benefits of coaching has been getting to watch my family, colleagues, and friends, many here today, support our program and follow each game as if it was their own. Your passion and loyalty are cherished. I've been blessed throughout my career to work with many outstanding people, in particular my coaching staff of many years. Rich Brown, Richard Tauber, Joe Dania, Mike Navaji, Kevin Geary, Nelson Amata, my bookkeeper Irene Van Cade, and our video crew of Roger Boucher and John Michael O'Brien. Your efforts, commitment, and sacrifice have enabled many of our student athletes to live successful lives. There are also many coaches in the room who have helped me improve as a coach, and I'm fortunate to call my friends. I'd like to recognize and thank them. Tom Fitzpatrick, Jerry D'Angelo, Eric Smiles, Wally Backman, Spencer Mayfield, Mike Wimmer, Matt Johnson, and Joe Lors. Thank you for attending and being here as friends and coaches. Appreciate it. I'd also like to thank our administrative staff. In attendance today, our district athletic director, Dr. John Jefferson, our director of guidance, Ms. Stacy Reed, and their staffs. Thank you for all your support over the years. Now we'll talk about our team, because this has always been about team to me. Over the years, we've achieved much to be proud of on the court. However, the thing I'm most proud of, and I will remember long after the memory of victories and defeats is faded, is the opportunity that was afforded to me to be a mentor, teacher, and coach to the student athletes of Uniondale. Some of you have traveled to share this honor with me today, and it is truly appreciated. I've watched you graduate high school and college, become teachers, coaches, doctors, lawyers, financial advisors, police officers, but most importantly, great husbands and fathers. The Uniondale alumni in attendance are Phil Redor, James Samuels, Lance Furtado, Nolan Dundee, Cliff Brown, Dane Dixon, Justin Brown, Maurice Kearney. Maurice, I'm going to take a second to congratulate you. Maurice got a full-time position at the University of Portland as an admissions officer and is also an assistant coach on their staff. Congratulations, congratulations, great honor. Also, Dave Allen and Matt Stiles. It's also important for you to know what you mean to the Uniondale School District and the part you play as positive role models to the players in our program and the youth in our community. It's every coach's dreams and goal to make it at the beginning of the season for Glens Falls. We've been fortunate enough to be here 3 times. And as all coaches do, we want more and more and more, and it's probably why we're coaches and why we strive. I didn't think I could be jealous today of anyone except for the great team that won their championship this weekend. So congratulations, coach, and to your team. That's a tremendous, tremendous weekend. It's fantasy. Well deserved, I'm sure. So as I said, it's our goal to make the Glens Falls Civic Center to compete in the state tournament, to become part of the great basketball tradition, and to experience an atmosphere that is both special and rare. This place is different. It's throwback. When people ask me what it's like to go to Glens Falls, it's like watching Hoosiers, but you're in the movie. I'm saddened by the fact that the tournament is moving in hope that we can fight to get it back here because this town needs this. And it is I'm both honored and humbled to have my plaque added to the wall in Heritage Hall alongside the names of so many basketball greats. For a basketball coach, Glens Falls is our field of dreams, a sort of heaven on earth. And I'm eternally grateful to be inducted as a member into the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame and to be recognized as a contributor to the rich tradition that is New York State basketball. Thank you all very much. It's good.
Our next inductee, my good friend, John Mount.
Just a quick story before I get to this. A few years back, well, first let me congratulate all the inductees. It's just an honor to be here amongst you. But Tom had invited us down to Uniondale a few years back, and we played down there in an upstate, downstate challenge. And just a little funny story. The game before ours, I think, was St. Lutheran versus St. Peter's or somewhere, and it looked like the NCAA tournament to my kids going up and down the floor. And all of a sudden, I get a tap on the back of my shoulder, and I hear from my starting point guard, "Coach, what have you gotten us into?" We had a great time. When I first came to Cornwall, I was very fortunate to be introduced to some legendary coaches in our area. Dick O'Neill at Monticello, Juan Montaldo, Fred Abart, and of course, Jerry Kaplan from James Ionia. Jerry is here today with much of his family. We had dinner last night, and as promised, Jerry, I will not mention our 5 overtime game that Cornwall won. 57-56, 1990. I do mention them though because as a young coach, I learned a tremendous lesson from them. And that lesson was you could go as hard as you possibly could for 32 minutes. Play with and coach with a tremendous amount of will to win. And then at the end of the game, those guys were still great best of friends. And as a young coach, that was a great lesson for me to learn. And I thought a great role model for our players in our program. I consider myself very blessed at Cornwall. I've coached some really great players, some of whom are here today. I've had the opportunity to work with some great coaches and administrators. I appreciate them all coming here this weekend and to share what I consider our accomplishment. I'm also blessed to have met my wife, Jana, while we were both working at Cornwall 25 years ago. I don't think anyone was more thrilled than she was when we found out I was nominated for the Hall of Fame. She was equally thrilled that my remarks had to be less than 5 minutes. This would not have been the same without you. We really enjoyed it together. Also here today is my brother and his wife, Dee. Okay, my mom was 91 years young. We made a trip up this beautiful breakfast this morning, honoring the nominees, but also for all the work they do throughout the year to promote basketball in New York State. I'd also like to thank them for dedicating an award to longtime coach at Cornwall, Glenn McGinnis.
Unfortunately, Glenn passed away this past summer at the age of 81. Luckily, some of his family is here today. His wife Peg, his son Matt, daughter Marianne, here to celebrate with us. Glenn loved this organization. He was one of the original committee members for the BCANY. He would have loved last night, and I don't believe anyone would have been prouder than him had he been sitting here with us today. I have a feeling he's in the room. Of all my experiences with Coach McGinnis, though, I think the one I will cherish the most is watching him live and teaching me to live by the old adage that if you love what you do, you never have to go to work a single day in your life. Thank you.
Oh, you have to put your jacket on, Coach? Coach O'Neill accounted for most of my losses.
Thank you.
Our next inductee is Stephanie Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. First, I want to thank the BCANY for this lovely weekend and the breakfast and just this whole event. It's so hard to believe I'm being honored into this Hall of Fame for just doing something that you love. Some of the best times, the most profound friendships, relationships have come through basketball. And I cherish them even without being in the Hall of Fame. Right now, I cherish them so much more because I have 500 more friends to share it. So thank you. I want to thank Greg Meyerhofer for nominating me for this this honor, and I promise to pay it forward because there are a lot of really great people that are part of this. I want to congratulate Tom and Andy from down on Long Island for this. It's just a great thing. So thanks for giving a shout out to Long Island. With my speech today, I think keep it short, don't thank a lot of people, I got that. So what I wanted to do was really just reflect on basketball. And I think for me, you have to have a love of the game. And the second part, you really have to respect the game. As a player, I just love to play. And it really started for me at home, because when you live on Long Island, you have a driveway and a garage and a hoop on the garage. So, and when you're in a Greek family, you meet at 6:15 the same time every day. So it was like at 6:30, I'd be, Mom, I'm going to go outside and play basketball. And really, it was just I was going to go outside and shoot, because all you need is a ball and a hoop, and you could just play. And I'd come in about 7:45, and I would get yelled at to come in because the ball's still bouncing, it's getting dark, and the neighbors are going to go to sleep. And my mom's like, what are you doing? You're just shooting the whole time? I'm like, yeah. But really what I was doing, because I'm the product of like the 70s, so back in the 70s, even though high schools were only playing 8 games, there was this thing called the Pan Am Games and the Olympics in the early 70s, and Madison Square Garden held a lot of women's basketball games. So Queens College was, not 15 minutes from my house, and Lucille Cavallis is in the Hall of Fame. We had St. John's, where John and Vicki Crest were the men's and women's coaches, so the Crest Express was with St. John's. And they would play at the Garden often. There'd be Iona, Montclair State, with Carol Blazkowski, kind of like the people that you read about right now. And then we had the New York Nets playing in where the Island Garden was, and the Knicks were just on a railroad ride away. And I babysat David Bush's kids. So it was kind of like, it was basketball in the blood. So it was always to I played in high school, I played in college, went to Springfield College, not a shop, a birthplace of basketball. And loved it there. And then when I came home, I was like, where else can we play? And you find out that people on Long Island, they'll always find a place to play. And the people that stayed home. So it ended up that there's this thing called CYO for like older people that were out of high school. And that wasn't funny. I didn't mean that to be funny. But we played, and there were people that I saw from college and ready to go. I went away, and people from Central Connecticut and Southern Connecticut and from home. And they said, oh, we have somebody. We're going to play the CYO League. It's all people that are out of college. It's coached by this detective. And we're going to play in Queens. So that detective was Vinny Canizero, and at the time when he was working and not coaching basketball at Christ the King, he was coaching a bunch of us in the CYO League. So if you're talking about learning from someone with the best, we played for Vinny, and that was pretty neat. So then started my coaching job, and the coaching community is just special. I mean, you all know from here. Ever have dinner with basketball coaches? There is no condiment that is safe on the table. The salt and pepper or the offense and defense. And the pepper was always the defense because it was darker, so you go D for defense, which is how we taught our kids. And then the ketchup, the mustard, and the hot sauce filled out the rest. Now with the hot sauce, we didn't go out to these upscale places, but that was it. Salt, pepper, mustard, ketchup, hot sauce, and we would make plays. And we wouldn't talk about players like they do today. We would talk about the game. We would talk about angles. We would talk about spacing. If some people hurt us, they'd bring over their salt, pepper, ketchup, mustard, and hot sauce. And we would just get into what we would be able to do with our teams the next day, and then we would all be ready to go. And I have to say, like, as a player, as a coach, and now in my later years as a coordinator, for New York State, there aren't any better people than basketball coaches, than basketball people who really know the game, respect the game, and talk about the game for really what it is. So my later life, I can't believe that now being a coordinator for the last 15 years and being an athletic director and no longer coaching, that I'm still involved so much with basketball. So I thank Pete Bly, our section, our state coordinator, for coming up here today and actually leaving a basketball game to be here. That's pretty special. These people I only see twice a year for the past 15 years, and they're like family. So you go with the family that I brought here today and the coaches, it's just tremendous. So now being honored, it's just very special. So I want to thank the people who came here today. Chris, Nina, Jen, Chapty, Bongino, Wally was an inductee from last year. The 4.5 hour, Danielle, the 4.5 hours coming up, it's special. I'm not sure if it was the icebreaker reception in Lake George that brought you up, or me, but either way, you're here, and that's pretty special. So I just want to thank them, and wait, I have another thing. And just News 12, thank you. I don't have to tell my mother to get the DVR because my mother's here. So I just want to say to Mom, this is the reason your daughter, when she became a teacher, wasn't home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon like every other teacher on the block. Because I coached since I was 21 years old and out of college, and coached for a long time. This is why I asked for a VCR for Christmas, so I could put the tapes in. And then for birthday, I asked for 2 so I could copy them. And then the next Christmas, asked for the VCR that had the 2. They didn't have to have 2 separate ones. And then I kept asking for tapes, and she goes, I gave you 6 last year and 12 the year before. I'm like, no, you keep them. So I don't know if she understands they're in her attic. But that's good. So this is why, this is what your daughter has been doing all these years. These are her friends. These are her 400 more friends. And just thank you for being here. And finally, I just want to end with something that I never thought I'd be able to say. Congratulations to my fellow members of the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
The next person who will be honored is originally from Gibson High School, and he is been deceased for a while, and so Sam is not here, but Bob Murphy's going to make a comment about him, accept his plaque for him.
Thank you, everyone. You're going to have to bear with me on this one. I was informed last night that I was going to be doing this with Brian laughing. And then Brian, you don't have to wait. Brian backed out this morning. Backed out. You know, I was doing it on my own. So I kind of braced myself. I want to share with you some things about Sam Cowlick that I know based on what I've heard about him. Never personally met him. Used to see him walking Main Street, city of Poughkeepsie. But there is a law that speaks to who he was. Sam Cowlick started at Poughkeepsie, in the Poughkeepsie City School District, circa 1923. If he were alive, he would go to him. He was the prince of the city. He coached everything. That was major at Poughkeepsie High School. He was the boys basketball coach. He was the football coach. He coached baseball. He had somewhere in the area of 1,100 victories, combined all of those sports that he coached. So I heard a lot of stories, and I'm going to share maybe a couple with you, certainly. I'll be within the 5-minute portion. I want to share it with you because I think it's very interesting. Jim Clark is sitting here. I was the superintendent of schools in the Poughkeepsie City School District. He was hired by Sam Cowlick. And at one point in time, Sam approached him and said, you know, Jim, we need a new crew coach. And Jim said, I don't know anything about crew. I don't know what I can do. Sam said, Jim, don't worry about it. You know how to swim. That's good enough. I'll tell you another story about it, and then I'll speak to just a little bit about what he did in basketball, because that was his greatest basketball. First of all, he coached the great Monty Stickles, for those of you who may remember that name. Monty Stickles was an All-American at Poughkeepsie High School, All-American in Notre Dame, and was an All-Pro player for the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers. Monty Stickles feared Sam Cowlick. The mayor of Poughkeepsie feared Sam Cowlick. The superintendent of schools in the city school district did not bother Sam Cowlick. Some of you may know the name Ron Talto. Ron Talto played for Sam Cowlick. He would always tell me about his greatness at Poughkeepsie High School. And I thought this would be good to tell based on me knowing a little bit about Ron that he didn't know. One day, Poughkeepsie was playing a big game. I believe it was Newburgh or something like that. This was a football game. And this was back in the 60s, early 60s. So, you know, Sam was strange. There was a saying in Poughkeepsie about he didn't play the radio. And all that meant was he didn't take anything from anyone. Obviously, he also did not let youngsters play the radio in the locker room or anything of that nature. But he didn't take anything from anyone. It was Sam's way, it was the highway. So Ron Talto comes to the game, and Jerry, you'll enjoy this. Jerry Kaplan, I know he knows Ron very well, as well as a few others here. Ron comes to the game, ready to play. He's got the black mascara, whatever they call it, under his eyes. And all the guys are looking at him because they're a little trying to figure out why he's wearing this, because Sam didn't really allow that. So he stands up at some point as they're getting ready to go out. Ron stands up and Sam looks him square in the eye. I guess he had been watching him for a while. He says, Montalto, get that mess off. And all of the players just withered because they knew that's who Sam was. He didn't play the radio, so to speak. You know, Brian Laffin chronicled or searched for information about Sam, and he came up with something regarding his record of 588 wins in basketball. But he never let it be known that there were 5 seasons that he could not find. So he was truly a legend. His name is revered in Poughkeepsie on this day, and it's been for many years. Football field, a beautiful stadium that has been rebuilt, price tag of a grand $3 million, bears his name. We always know that he is the mystique in the gymnasium. He's the person that is there when teams are down, and we've always revered and respected him for what he'd done for the city of Poughkeepsie. And on his behalf, I accept this honor for him and his family, and I will certainly make sure that the city is aware that Sam is in the Hall of Fame. Thank you to Mr. Arthur.
Our next inductee is Spencer Mayfield.
Wow. My good friends at White Plains, Denise and Laura, they say that I'm a rule follower. Dave, I know you don't want us to name everybody, but I'm going to show them that I'm not a rules follower. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me to receive this most prestigious honor, and to Brian Laff and Rob Rizzo and Ty Carver, who supported my nomination. Congratulations to all the nominees and inductees. This group of people, it's a terrific group of people. I'm honored to be going in with you. I'm truly humbled to be going in with Bill, Bob, and Tom. Three great basketball minds who I've known over the years and stolen from. In the time allotted, I know I can't do justice to the many people who have had an impact on my career. For me, this is a we award, not a me award. I would like to thank the White Plains administrators, board members, teachers, staff, and the tremendous support they've given me over the years. Some are in attendance today. A special thank you to former athletic directors, Dr. Lynn Kahn, who hired me 23 years ago, Mario Scarano, Nick Finero, and my current AD, Matt Cameron. Matt, this is our first year together. We're standing outside the county center after we lost in the semifinal game. I said to Matt, will you love me if we lose another semifinal game? Of course, Matt, we'll love you. We'll love your family. We'll miss all of you terribly, too. I'd like to thank the Section 1 officials who are here, too. I know it's a long way. The great Hubie Brown has said at his coaching clinics, the notoriety of a coach is dictated by the performance of his players under pressure. In White Plains, I've had some tremendous players over the years that have given many tremendous performances as well, and they have gone on to the next level successfully. People like Jermaine Young from my '94 state championship team, or Kareem Washington from the '99 state championship team, college players like Mike DeMello, and current pro players like Sean Kilpatrick of the Brooklyn Nets. I'm receiving this honor because of players like them and all my players. As a coach, your lifelong relationships with your players are the things that are the most rewarding experience that you cherish the most. I cherish all my relationships from all my coaching situations, including Rutherford and Tenafly, where I got my start. I've been surrounded by great assistant coaches over the years that have made our program what it is today. Coaches like Anthony Anderson and Steve Silence, who were there in the beginning, that helped us build the White Plains program, and Rob Rizzo, to name a few. A tremendous source of pride is when your former players come back and join your staff. I've been fortunate enough to have 5 players on my staff. I've also had some great mentors from the high school level, college level, and pro level that taught me about sharing and becoming a lifelong learner. Through my NBA experiences with the Utah Jazz and Gordon Chiesa, I was able to get an up-close and personal view of how a pro team ran its organization. I appreciate all those lessons. I greatly appreciate the support of my family and friends that are here today to share this with you. I have my cousins from Pennsylvania, Evie and Marion, my wife, Deaudrey, my daughter, Amber, happy birthday, Amber, and my son, Spencer. Also, my dear friend and my kid's godfather, Chuck Mancuso, and his wife, Cynthia. You all have made family sacrifices so that I could coach. Today is a validation of all your family sacrifices. There are 2 seats missing that I wish could be here today. The greatest coach and support cheerleader that I've ever had and made me who I am today. My dad, Spencer Sr., and my mom, Anna Mae. I know they would be proud to share in this moment. My wife and I were talking about 23 years ago how we won our first state championship. My beautiful daughter took ill during the championship, and it made it a bittersweet experience. I said to her, we go way back, and it's a special day, it's Amber's birthday, and remember those times that we were so concerned about her health, and she turned out to be a great, beautiful young lady. We won the state championship, and then we had to go to the Federation Championship to play against the greatest team I ever coached against, Rice High School, coached by Lou DeMello, who's sitting here today. I said to her, did you believe ever in your wildest dreams that you think that we could someday be coming back to the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame? She said to me, I'm really happy. I'm glad you're going into the hall. I truly am. But you have never been in my wildest dreams. For this overwhelming and prestigious honor, it's time for me to drop the mic, as they say. God bless you all.
Never any good at speaking about any of my accomplishments. I never decided to coach basketball because I wanted to win basketball games. This wasn't something that was in my mind. That being said, I want to thank BCNY for this honor. I want to thank Spencer Mayfield and Brian Lack for all that they did to support my nomination. Induction. My career has been chronicled. It's in front of you. In the program, it's on a plaque that will be installed upstairs in Heritage Hall. That's not who I am. Who I am is an individual who, in 1995, won a state championship at Poughkeepsie High School, and who was fortunate to be honored by the Poughkeepsie Journal as sports person of the year for winning that championship. They did a beautiful article. They spoke to my assistant coaches, and came up with what they needed to do to make me look good on paper. And when I went out to purchase the journal to bring it home and share the story with my wife, I sat there in the den, I read it to her, and when I was all done with it, I looked at her and I said, "Well, honey, what do you think?" And she looked me square in the eye and said, "Oh, they didn't mention me." So from that day forward, anytime I was interviewed, I made sure that I mentioned my love and wife, Molly. When people see what they say, and I try to mention my daughter Larissa as well. When people see my wife, Molly, they expect to see someone with red hair and freckles. That's not what they see. They see Molly. You know, basketball for me has been about the players that you coach who give their all, and the wins and losses just kind of fall in place. Which is more depends on what you give them and how well you've given it to them and how well they've mastered it. So I want to share with you what I think I went into basketball. Not long ago, I got a communication from a young man who played for me last year, actually. And in this communication, he was thanking me for the time that I spent with him in high school coaching him. And he also wanted to congratulate me for being nominated for the Hall of Fame. And then he said something that is that is the thing that identifies who I think I am as far as coaching is concerned. See, this young man had some issues early on in his high school career. And on that day that he communicated to me, he said, "Coach, you know, I really wish I could do it all over again." And at that point, I realized that the light went on. And that's why I coach, to make sure that young people that have a chance to spend time in my program are learning something about life and what it's about to move forward as they look to the future to raise their families and maybe to coach. Not just to yell and scream at youngsters, and I've done a lot of yelling and screaming, but to make sure that they learn something that they can take. That's why I coach. I have 3 friends that are here today that I want to mention. One is right in front of me, Ed Agard. I don't know if you saw Sam Samuels come in. Sam came in, he was a fellow with a walker. He stepped out, I'm a little concerned about where he is at this point. Ed came in from Vermont, and Sam and Bernard Harden came in from Brooklyn, New York. And Ed and Sam were seniors when I was a sophomore in high school. They brought me into the fold. I was a lowly sophomore. They were big-time players in New York City, and it was those guys that allowed me to be with them, to give me a perspective on what it's all about, to share something with the younger guys that are coming up. You know, Ed, I thank you, and Sam. Appreciate you being here. It means quite a bit to me. Thanks so much. I've had 2 assistant coaches that have really shared quite a bit with me in basketball. Jerome Elton was here, still my assistant at Woodlands High School. Pete Sheehan, who's from the Queensbury area, and he was with me at Poughkeepsie High School for 13 seasons. I'll give you another story about him. We won that 95 tournament here in Glens Falls. We went to the Sheehans, Paul and Peg are here as well. We went to their home, and the team was served. As we were going downstairs, all the kids walked downstairs. They saw these little placards on the wall. Every placard said, "Congratulations, Pete. Good job, Pete. You were great, Pete."
Doug, don't believe.
And we always talk about that. Those youngsters still come back and talk about that to this day. But you know, I say this and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Those 2 guys that I've worked with for all the years that I've coached, I've learned more from them than they could ever learn from me. If it wasn't for Pete Sheehan, I probably wouldn't stand here today. That's how good a friend he is to me, and that's how much he's meant to me regarding my career in basketball.
I want to thank the BCA-NY once again, because again, I never thought that this was something that I could attain. It wasn't something that I cared about. It wasn't something that I reached for. I just wanted to be able to communicate with young people like my high school coach communicated with me and give them the opportunity to believe in themselves and understand that someday you can be special and you can pass that on. And your greatness is available just like anyone else's greatness is available if you believe in yourself and you push and make it happen. So at this point, I want to thank my family, all my friends, and join the BCA-NY for this great.
Our next inductee, Coach Bill Tom.
First of all, I'd like to thank the class of 2016, all of you who've inducted. The stories are great, and a lot of the sentiments that I have, you've echoed. I'd like to thank the BCA-NY, Dave, Chris, and the other executive board members for having us here today and putting on this fantastic celebration. Thank you to my friends, colleagues, past players, current and past coaches who have joined me today in the celebration. We were told not to name them, so I'm Bob Waters, unlike Spencer. And for my family, well, we'll hold that for a minute and we'll talk about you guys in a minute because you are what has made me what I am today. I want to take a minute to honor my mom and dad. Pauline and David Tom are no longer with us, but they live on through me, and hopefully I've honored them in a way that is just and right. My mom worked for a variety store and spent many of her free time volunteering for the church. She was also in the grade school where she was a lunch monitor, a member of the Altar Rotary Society, and she gave without limits. My dad was a plumber. He was a World War II veteran. Like my mom, he spent much of the time in the community and involved in many things. Baseball was his love. He coached my Little League team. He was involved in the American Legion Post, their baseball, and in our scouting groups as well. Both my mom and dad were very humble people and always gave, so I tried to follow in their footsteps. So throughout my teaching and coaching career, I took these lessons and gave selflessly. I will apply my life lessons of mom and dad, and hopefully I've done a good job. There's a story that my mom from the gospel always talked about. It was from the book of Luke, and it was about a wedding feast and where you should sit when you were called to the wedding feast. And it talked about the humble, and it talked about the exalted and where they would sit relative to the event. The one phrase from it that's near and dear to my heart is Luke 7:11, which reads, "For everyone who is exalted himself will be humbled, and he who is humbled will be exalted." And that's what I live by. It's not about me. I was a vehicle to do some work, and I was able to coach some kids and see their successes and what they've done. Now that you know a little bit about where I come from and my roots, it's time to spend a moment about my family. I've been able to coach for 33 years, and without them I would not have had that opportunity. I have two sons, and as I've tried to honor my mom and dad, they probably without knowing honored me. Billy and Ian, who both have played for me at Croton Harmon. Billy, more affectionately known as B, went on to attend Davidson College and work for Coach McKillop. Now is an athletic director at a prep school and coaches at Millbrook in the New England Prep School League. He's turned the program around in 3 short years and has led them to the NEPSAC playoffs in the last 2 years. Ian, a junior at Birmingham Southern College, where he's a starting point guard on the team and boasts the second longest winning streak in D3,
2003, he was named an all-conference player, and he took the team to the NCAA tournament where they lost in the second round. Very proud of both my boys, and without words can't express the love I have for them and how proud I am. True star of the family, though, is my wife, AKA Murph. For those who don't know, I'll be retiring at the end of the school year. And since my coaching career ended at Croton Harmon High School this past February, thanks to another Murph, Coach Murphy at Woodlands. Not to confuse the two characters in the story now. Murph, my wife, and I have spent the majority of our time watching the conference tournament in Birmingham, watching Billy's end of his regular season, his playoff games at Millbrook, and then traveling back down to Atlanta for the Division III playoffs, the NCAA tournament, the big dance. This was uncharted territory for me, being on the sideline and watching, being a spectator. I felt so helpless and out of control during the games. As a spectator, it's just impossible. People are saying, "Where's your husband, Murph?" And I'm up pacing and just going back and forth. And for my lovely wife and the wives of all the coaches, you sit in the bleachers and you hear a lot of comments and you watch games, and it's hard to do that. I've done it for 3 weeks. While I was down there, I was offered a job with Birmingham Southern. I'm going back to coaching because I can't stay on the sidelines. So at this point, I'd like one of my sons is here, Billy, to come up, and my wife. I want to publicly thank her with a little token of the Tomboys appreciation. So being here, you guys come up. Let me close with this. One of my friends, opposing coach Dave Briner, during the end of the season, I was like a mini Derek Jeter tour. Every school I went to would do something for me. And my last home game made a testimonial. And Dave kind of quoted from one of my favorite movies, It's a Wonderful Life. He looked at me and said, "George Bailey has nothing on you." And Dave, you were so right. Thank you all.
Our next inductee, Mike Kitts, as you may know, is a referee, active referee, retired now. He is supervising the Big Ten officials this weekend, so he cannot be here. So congratulations, Mike. And now we'll move to our last inductee for today, Susan Rees.
I'm so honored to become a member of the New York State Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame, along with this incredible class of inductees. I'm standing here because of the efforts and thoughtfulness of a fellow high school classmate for presenting my credentials to the committee for consideration. We're lifelong friends, and in spite of choosing rival colleges, Portland and Ithaca, we have remained best buds over the years. I would like to recognize Ryder and Scott. And so Mr. Archer warned us in so many words not to thank every student who ever played on our team. But that's why we're here, right? Well, before I begin that list, I need to recognize a few others. When an honor like this is bestowed, it gave me time to reflect on the important role that the sport of basketball has played in my career, and precisely the opportunities that were available to me as a young professional. Some say the hotbed of basketball coaching is Philly and the Big Five. but the entire state of New York, and not just New York City, has been home to so many of the great minds of the game, many of whom are recognized as members of this Hall of Fame. I look back with such fond memories of my time as a high school and college student athlete, and the knowledge that New York State was well ahead of the nation in providing opportunities for girls and women in sports. When I was searching for every competitive sport opportunity I could find, I was lucky to attend Hendrick Hudson High School in Section 1. Where are my Section 1 kids?
Section 1 in the house.
And Hendrick Hudson was a school leading the way for girls' sports back in the early 70s. So that's when I played back in the late 60s. Then off to a New York State college. Thank you, Susan Cortland, for helping me develop a sound and broad-based foundation of coaching and teaching philosophies. I needed that strong foundation because I became a head coach of basketball at age 22. Yikes. And I, along with many other college coaches, owe big thanks to other members of this Hall of Fame. Coaches Xander, Georges, Powers, all drew many scouting trips to their gyms over the years because of their expert teaching and coaching. I reached out to New York State high schools throughout my years at Hamilton, Amherst College, and the University of Chicago. At Hamilton, in my first coaching job at the college level, and the challenge of building the first women's team, I ran into another Hall of Fame coach, Tom Murphy. And when I walked into the gym, he explicitly told me I better keep up the pace of winning for my newly formed team or else. If you know Tom, you know what that means. So a big thanks to Kathy Faber, former president of the New York State Public High School Association, here tonight, Kathy, because she introduced me to all the local Utica Rome powerhouse teams and coaches. So I was happy to have a pipeline to recruiting in upstate New York from a good friend, Kathy. And I had the opportunity to learn from the best all over New York State. And of course, I can't help but not mention Jim Boeheim. In my first recruiting summer while coaching at Hamilton, I signed up to work at Jim's camp in the Adirondacks. It was there that I learned the intricacies of that 2-3 zone defense, and maybe more importantly in my later life, the top 5 killer strategies for the nightly staff poker games. In closing, I do have a few regrets. Not saving all those Michael Jordan sneakers I owned in the late 80s and early 90s, and that timeout that I called just as Mara Harris was hitting a 3-point shot game winner. Well, we didn't have a 3-point shot back then. Maybe I misremembered. Now, getting back to my 300 student athletes that I coached over a 26-year career. You ready?
Yeah.
Thanks to each and every player who executed to perfection every timeout play as designed on that clipboard. So all you coaches out there know that that qualifier cuts that number down to 25. I do want to say a big thank you to my first collegiate team at Hamilton College, and one of my first recruits is here tonight, and I'd like her to stand up. Jan McTiernan. She's now a superintendent, is that correct? And I want to thank the whole team because they taught a rookie coach how to be patient. I want to thank the committee for this opportunity to become part of this wonderful organization. Thank you very much.
All right, before we finish, I need all of the people that were inducted today to come up here now so we get a group shot. So before anyone else moves, those that were inducted today, with your plaque, please come up here. Travel safe.